Hello, this is Joseph from Stack Tech. We're going to do a quick video today about getting malware and viruses on your system by downloading files from sites that are not trustworthy. Had a customer come in. They had updated their audio driver. It was a Realtek HD audio driver for Windows 10. And they went to a third-party site. They just typed in Google, Realtek HD audio driver, Windows 10. They hit download, they installed it, said, hey, it fixed my problem. And then all of a sudden they started noticing their computer's really slow and overheating. Process Explorer or Process Manager was showing, or Task Manager, I'm sorry, was showing 45% constant usage. So I'm going to show you what I found here. I'm going to fire up Hyper-V, which is a virtual machine that comes with Windows 10 and Server 2008, 2012. And I have a virtual machine here. I'm going to go ahead and start it up. This is a fresh installed Windows 10 with a couple apps installed, like 7-Zip. I can't remember what all I installed. 7-Zip. I think 7-Zip's all I installed, but I went ahead and downloaded some tools that we're going to use to examine this virus. So you can see here, here's the version of Windows 10 it's running. This is current as of today, 4/20/2016. Use the media creation tool to download an ISO and create this virtual machine. And I have Task Manager up here on the side, and I'll probably just keep it over here so we can see any anomalies as they appear. So here's the virus. Not sure technically you'd call it a virus or malware. I'm not going to tell you what it is yet, but you'll see why I don't really call it a virus. I'm not sure exactly everything it does, but I know the main goal of this file. So I'm going to go ahead and unzip it here. And I password protected it so no virus protection would find it. Funny enough, not a lot of antiviruses found this at all. So what we're going to do here, move this file up here. Just going to look at these files here. You can see it has the official Realtek icon. They've used this for their network card and audio drivers before. The funny thing is, being an IT professional, we used to actually find out what was a virus and what wasn't by looking at the details on the file. So if we go to detail view here, well, we'd have to add the columns. Here we'll just right-click and properties it, right? And go to the details tab. They've actually filled in the file description, the file version. It says Realtek HD audio. It's got the copyright symbol, the language even. Most viruses won't have this information. It will be missing. They don't take the time when they build the executable. When the programmer's sitting there writing his payload or his virus or malware, they often don't put anything in here, yet alone. Sometimes they'll change the icon of the exe, or sometimes it'll just be some randomly named exe. So not only does this have the right icon, it's actually named something official that uses the official name from Realtek for an audio driver. In fact, let's turn on file extensions real quick because that's going to drive me nuts. Like I said, this is a fresh install, so we're going to show hidden files, not hide file extensions, and we're going to apply that to all folders really quick. Okay, so now we see. Now there's some other DLLs in here. I think I verified that all of these are actual legit third-party DLLs, like libcurl, zlib, this is for SSL. All these are legit DLL libraries that the payload here, the actual virus or malware, uses to do functions like SSL or downloading things from the internet or other functions that the programmer didn't want to take time to actually write, and there was already a good library out there, a good shared library to use, so they just used it. It's either that or the payload itself, which I'll show you. There's an embedded payload inside this exe that sets up and runs on your system when you run it. I think that payload may use these files as well. So we're going to go ahead and run this. Now, I'm not sure how this is going to act in a virtual machine, and you'll find out why later on. But we're going to run it, and we're going to find out. And I'm not sure. I think I'm going to run it as admin because, remember, when this person downloaded this malicious file, they thought it was a driver, and they did run it as an administrator initially. So we're going to go ahead and give it the benefit of the doubt here and give it a leg up and go ahead and run it as an administrator. And now this part of user account control actually doesn't show CC publisher is unknown. It's actually not signed with a certificate. So this would be your first warning here. You don't see any publisher here. It doesn't say it's from Microsoft or Realtek or anything. And that would be one of your first warnings as a user, but a user with a problem with their sound card thinking, hey, I got this from a site that said it was giving me the right Realtek Audio Drive for my computer. It even said for their particular motherboard, I'm going to download this file and this is going to fix my problem. So they hit yes. Now that it's running, and you can see my little circle. Okay, there we go. Okay, we're going to go through the task manager here real quick and see if we see anything funky. I don't see anything just yet. So we're going to go over to Details View. See if anything's running in here. No, nothing here. Oh, that's weird. I would expect to see it running. Could be either it's not working in a virtual machine or it's setting things up initially. So we'll leave it alone here for a minute, but we're going to go ahead and go into some programs that I had downloaded ahead of time. So we're going to open up another Explorer here and go to our downloads. We're going to be using the sysinternals suite. You can find that on Microsoft's site, sysinternals.microsoft.com, I believe. And we're going to actually launch Process Explorer because even though the Windows 10 Task Manager has come a long way, if you turn it into details mode, by default you have to click this little more details here. Otherwise, you don't get all the good information. And then go over to the Details tab to really get a process by process look at your system. So we're going to go ahead and close Task Manager. No, we'll leave Task Manager up. Yeah, we'll come back to it. But what we're interested in is Process Explorer. So we're going to go ahead and run it. First time you run it, you have to agree to the license. I also want to mention that Windows Defender that comes with Windows 10 is installed and running right now and hasn't detected anything. Windows Defender did not detect this. Malwarebytes did not detect it. What else did I run? HitmanPro. I ran like 6 or 7 different antiviruses, and none of it detected it. Eventually, I used virustotal.com, which I've actually installed. If you go to virustotal.com and look at the frequently asked questions section, you can download the VirusTotal uploader program, which if you right-click on a file, you can send it to VirusTotal. And that's how, if you watch, I'll do that right now. I saw out of the 56 antivirus engines they used to scan files uploaded to them, 28 of them were triggered. So even AVG found it. That's funny. Symantec says it found it, but it didn't find it on the particular customer system. But if you could see here, over half of the antivirus engines out there, I can't talk, I'm tired. I apologize. Don't find it. Let's see if Windows Defender's on here, because yeah, Microsoft. There you go. Microsoft does not find it. Now, I went ahead and submitted this virus sample because they have a method for Microsoft to do it. And I've submitted several samples to Microsoft in the past that I absolutely knew were malware or a virus or a script that's malicious in some way. And they always take them. They say that they're working on them or they're going to look at it. They never reply or update the case. And then a lot of times they mark my submissions as not legit or a false positive when I know they're not. In fact, some of the time I can see the malicious code that it's executing and I know that they're malicious, but yet they just go ahead and say, well, whatever. So anyway, Microsoft could be detecting this by now, but they're not because they don't bother to look at those apparently. All right, so we're going back to Process Explorer here. We just want to see if it's running because it doesn't look like in Task Manager that it is. And it's very well possible that it's not actually going to run without the initial payload that my client had downloaded and ran, right? Or maybe it doesn't like the virtual host. That is possible as well, and I'll explain why if I can't get it to run here in a bit, why that might be. We've got a funky thing here called dashost.exe. I'm not sure if that's legit or not. Dashost.exe, well. That's interesting. Error opening process. Not sure what that is. I don't think that's a normal Windows executable. It could be, though. I'm in a virtual machine, and there's extra device association framework provider host. Let's go to details here. It says it's from Microsoft. It looks legit. I'll tell you what I can do. I'll compare it to the other system files here, because if we look at the date modified stamp, I know that when this installation was installed, and it was at 3:17 a.m. No, wait. That's the Microsoft dates. We can't go by that. That's right. Darn it. I was hoping I could use that. Well, long story short, I do not think this is malicious. So I don't think the payload is running. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go run it again. We're going to run it a couple different ways. We are going to just double click it without running as administrator. See what happens here. Process Explorer actually highlights different colors on processes, and you can tell what is a new process. Oh, it's taking a little time this time. Look, my cursor's kind of locked up. Anyway, these different colors mean something different in Process Explorer, and you can set the colors to what you like, but it will highlight with different colors what processes have just started and what processes have ended before they fade off and disappear from the screen, so you have time to catch them. It looks like this is almost completely locked up my virtual machine at this point. I can't right-click. No. I can't do anything. I'm going to go minimize the virtual machine real quick and go back to the host machine. Run my task manager here, and we're going to sort by CPU usage and see. That's the recording software. It's not using a lot of my processor. Yeah. Okay. It's really locked up that virtual machine. So bad. Look, the window's just gray. Like, this is similar to what my client was experiencing, but not so bad. They could still work. And again, there's a reason behind why they were allowed to still work, and the virus didn't just eat up all the resources. It was actually halfway intelligent. We may have to power cycle the virtual machine and hope that it's already written its registry entries, or however it's going to restart itself. I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to close out of this. We're going to turn off the machine. This is the same as you holding the power button on your computer and just cold shutting the machine down. Turn off. All right. And then we're going to turn it back on. All right, let's right-click on it. Go ahead and start it. Right-click on it and connect. Make it full screen. You can see it's behaving right now. It's booting up Windows 10 again. All right. Let's hope it at least installed. This is a setting for the virtual machine. Just go ahead and hit connect. Oh, I did that wrong. Connect. Well, that's weird. There it goes. Okay, let's log into SYN. Gonna quickly pull up Task Manager. Wow, it didn't even save my Task Manager settings. It should have still been in the more details mode. Oh, there's a couple of black windows there, and there was no Windows updates done. You see those two black command prompts that just popped up really quick? Don't know what they were. I'm hoping it was the virus. It would suck if I can't get this to actually infect and we sit here and just troubleshoot nothing. So far it's not doing anything that I can see. I'm going to go ahead and hop in where I know it hides in the system, just to see if it wrote the files in the right spot. Nope, not there. Not there, and not here. I'm wondering if we're not going to be able to get this to infect, because it was, we don't have the original payload. That's going to be a bummer. Go ahead and run as administrator again. Oh! Screen flickered. It's not doing anything. Well, since I can't get it to run, unfortunately, and I'm not willing to actually infect a real system with this, I'll tell you why I think it's not working. This exe that masquerades as the Realtek Audio Driver is actually a dropper for a BitCoin miner. And if you don't know what BitCoin is, you can Google that. But what it does is it uses the system resources on the machine that it's infected to mine Bitcoins for somebody out on the internet. And I think one of the reasons why it may not be working in the virtual machine is I think it's smart enough to only mine if there's a GPU present, so a good graphics card, because graphics cards mine Bitcoins much faster than CPUs. And right now, I do have the extensions for Remote FX installed on my Hyper-V virtual machine here. Like if we run computer management and go to device manager here, if we look under display adapters, you'll see it's a Microsoft Remote FX graphics device, which allows a virtual machine to have nice, buttery, smooth acceleration from your video card if your video card supports it. But I'm betting that the payload is launching and trying to detect the GPU, and it doesn't know what to do with that one. It's looking for like an AMD or a Radeon, a decent video card to, like an NVIDIA gaming card or an AMD video card that's really going to pump those Bitcoin computations out. One would think that it might default back to CPU if it can't find those, but I'll bet that's the problem it's having. So since I can't get it to infect, there's not much to show you anyway. You would see the process running over here, and you would see it, spiking up to 45% CPU usage, sometimes stopping for a while, and then going back to 45% CPU usage, effectively slowing down the system by about half of its capable speed. The first program we're going to use to actually dissect this, we could just pop it in Notepad, and well, here, in fact, I'll show you. If you have nothing else on a system and you want to crudely, very crudely look at a binary file, you can drop it into Notepad, and you will see all the goody-goody stuff. Now, you'll see some strings in here. There's some visible words, right? Some readable words. And you could possibly get an idea if you knew where to look in here and poke around. You might find a couple keywords or a malicious URL or link to a website. And maybe get an idea, but probably not, right? So sysinternals has a program called strings that we're going to use. We could use Process Explorer, but since this won't run, it has a similar feature to view strings in memory if the process was running. In fact, I can show you how that works, right? Just follow along here. So if you were going to use Process Explorer, I just want to show you this. So we're going to type this as a test. Oops. I can't spell. Again, I'm tired. This is a test in a Notepad, and we're going to go run sysinternals, downloads, sysinternals, Process Explorer. This is how I would find, kind of peek in at it if it was running in memory. And we're going to look up Notepad. Now, Notepad's written by Microsoft. We may not get everything in memory. It might be protected pretty well. But if we go to Properties, we can go to this Strings tab, right? Now, by default, it shows you the strings that it finds in the executable itself. So we would expect to find like the error messages, links to other DLLs and APIs, stuff like that is inside of notepad.exe. If we look around here enough, we'll find some stuff that kind of makes sense. Some XML data here. Just stuff that the binary needs to function, which God only knows what Microsoft puts in them. Actually, theirs is pretty obfuscated. There's not too much here that you can see. And these right here don't really mean anything. They're just, it looks like a string, so it displays it anyway, but it's not really meaningful data to us, at least. But if we go to memory, we might be able to find our this is a test. Maybe. I say maybe because Microsoft might have written Notepad pretty well. It's coming up with everything. Yeah, it doesn't show up. But in some programs it will. Like anything in memory loaded right now would show up in here. There's the link to the MS Help site if that's launched from Notepad. But often in malware you will find URLs and other things that point to it. Now we're going to run a similar function, but it's a command line function. So we're going to start up command prompt. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and copy the full path to this whole sysinternals package here. And I'm going to set my path to include it. That way we can run these from anywhere we're at. So if you don't understand that, look into like DOS command prompt path file or path command to understand what that does. Let's go into our downloads folder. And the sysinternal suite program we're looking for, if we look back here in Explorer, is called strings.exe. And it just spits out those same strings right out to the console. So if we run strings on our malware, so let's look at our, oh, it's on our desktop, not in downloads. Okay, it's in this Realtek HD folder, and it's called rthdcpl. So if we run strings, and then the name of that file, it'll just spit them out. Well, first time you have to agree to the agreement for strings, of course. And you can see it just pushes them right to the console. Now that's not very useful, right? Because you can only scroll up so far in the buffer of the console, and you might be missing some of them. So I'm going to show you a couple tips here, which a lot of DOS people will know, but that's okay. Some people don't. My favorite is to do strings.exe, the name of the file.exe, and a pipe, and then clip. And what that will do, and that's existed, I believe, since Windows 7, maybe even Vista, it copies the output to the clipboard. So if we go back to our notepad here, delete our this is a test, and paste in, we will get all that output. So this right here is just the sysinternals program saying it's starting, what version it is, and then here's all of our strings, right? So let's go through these strings. Well, let me show you another way that you could do this. You could do a greater than string, let's call strings.txt, right? Let's make a text file out of it. Now, if we look in our folder, we got strings.txt, same thing here. It output the contents to a file, so that's pretty useful. That's another way you could do it. Okay, we're going to scroll through here a little. Now, we're getting to some actual text here, right? I'm going to scroll back up till like the first parts here. And a lot of this, unless you're a programmer, may not make any sense to you. That's okay. Now, the first indication I had was, you see this minor? Okay. Waiting on a sim and minor thread. Not sure exactly what that means, but I know how, and I know what cgminer.c is. All right. Built with GPU mining support, and I think that's why it won't run on our virtual machine. It can't detect the actual video card. It's a virtual fictitious video card, but WTF, no pool found? Like, what the fuck? That's literally the message. Like, there's no pool found. And this was probably written, I think somebody recompiled cgminer, okay, to have their own messages and a little bit more support for things they wanted to do, right? If you look in here, you'll get even more information here. And I'm not sure what these right here are. Diablo, Fat K. They could be types of encryption that BitCoin miners use to report back block data and when they're solving blocks and whatnot. Not sure, because I've used them before, but it's been years, right? But what I was really looking for in here is I really wanted to find the username and password, because this is working in a pool, right? The person who wrote this payload, this virus, this malware, has pushed it out to thousands of machines probably by now, if not tens of thousands, and hopefully not hundreds of thousands. And all of them are sitting there using their CPU and GPU cycles to solve Bitcoin and report them back as a collective to a pool to try to get Bitcoins. So somebody's making money off of this. They're making money off of infecting machines and using people's resources. And you might think, well, that's not that malicious. They're just having a little, fun. They're just whatever. This costs people productivity. Their machines overheat sometimes if they can't handle the payload and the work that they're told to do on top of the work that the user is doing. It wastes electricity, causes frustration. And then some people turn around and they will literally go to Google and they'll type in like computer help. I get this all the time. Or they'll have a pop-up on their machine that came from some other malicious website that they went to go download a, quote, antivirus and didn't hit the right site or the real site, the legit site for an antivirus product. And they'll actually end up calling an 800 number or that they see on the screen. It'll say your machine's infected, or it could be optimized. Hey, call this 800 number. Or somebody will already have hacked their machine, get their phone number, or randomly cold call their phone number and say, hey, I'm from Microsoft. They usually have an Indian accent, not picking on the Indian people. That's just usually the way this goes. And they'll say, hey, we can fix your computer, and they'll start working on it. And half the stuff these people type in and show you on the screen, like they'll pull up your temp folder, right? Everybody's familiar with the Windows temp folder. And they'll show you all these files here, and they'll say, you see, all these are viruses. These are bad. I'm going to get rid of these for you or whatever. And they'll do some work, and then often before they're completely finished, they'll say, okay, now that's going to be $400 or 6 payments of $69.95 or whatever the spiel is, right? And we can protect your computer for 4 years for that price. And I've even seen them offer this for like 4 computers. Oh, you have a laptop too? Oh, hey, you have a cell phone too, a smartphone? Yeah, we can do that too. And some people fall for it. Thank God most people in my community, I live in, like rural Indiana, small town, 20,000 people. We don't have a whole lot of high-paying jobs here. I mean, we certainly don't have $15 an hour, which is a whole other discussion, which I think is a good thing. Go Bernie. But yeah, a lot of these people at that point will say, well, no, thank you, and either hang up or just not pay, right? And rightfully so. First of all, nobody will ever call you from Microsoft and tell you you have a computer problem. It does not happen ever. Microsoft does not initiate tech support calls to end users of Windows, period. So that's something important for people out there to know if they didn't know already. But yeah, I've seen this, and it's crazy. Take it to your local IT person. If you've got a son or a daughter that's good with IT, or a grandkid, it's good at IT, that are better than you at least, and you want them to look at it initially and say, hey, is this a good idea? What am I getting into here? And they say, well, this is fake, or hey, you need to take it to the local computer guy, or find a reputable person in your community, somebody you can physically go talk to, something tangible that you can take your computer to and get it fixed. Because they're probably only going to charge you, $100, $125, or maybe even less, depending on your community or depending on your problem. Maybe it's an easy problem to fix. Maybe you just got the fake notification on your screen and you're not actually infected with anything yet because you haven't let somebody remote into your computer or call you on the phone and reel you in. You're going to usually, on these local mom and pop stores, I'm one myself. I do IT consulting as well as computer repair and laptop repair and mobile device repair. And maybe, I'm going to charge you $75 to get rid of this virus, right? And you'll actually have somebody you can come to with questions from now on, instead of somebody over the phone you'll never meet, and they're just scamming you for money. Okay, enough ranting on that. So yeah, if we keep looking through here, you'll find more and more messages having to do with Bitcoin mining. You'll see here it's talking about solving blocks and whatnot. And you can use this in all sorts of malware executables or even malware data files. Like if we close this out, don't save. There's a config XML file here too. Let's open that in Notepad actually. And let's see if it contains any information here. Config.xml. This looks like... Oh, that's funny. This may be why it's not working. This config file is set up for another machine I was testing it on. That is funny. Let's see if we can change this path here and get it to run. We might be lucky. So that's where it's actually at, right? Sorry, this is the config file for the malware itself. It keeps some settings. So maybe if I do this, save the config file for the thing, launch it again, maybe we'll get it to run. Maybe it was erroring out because of bad programming on the malware person's side here. No. Don't see anything yet. Let's run as administrator. I was really hoping to get this to work for you guys, but I hope you're learning some valuable information. You can see the Windows anti-malware service started to crank up a little bit, it's scanning some stuff, but it's not going to find it. And it looks like we've locked up the machine again, which is crazy. You'd think... I don't know what it's trying to do. It's so bad I can't run Task Manager or anything at this point. But anyway, hopefully you guys have learned a little bit about looking at files, diagnosing them. In this case, it even looked halfway legit, but it was totally not legit. Yeah.